happy holiday season. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays for everybody out there. How are you doing? Let me make sure we've got our LinkedIn version going here. It should be picking up here any second, and we'll get that going on. Just want to say thank you for all the support over the year. It's been a great year. Lots to talk about. Going to have an announcement here soon, and we'll talk about that. But really, this show is going to be about the whole situation. Now, well, there's a lot to talk about, but we're going to talk about the H1B situation. There's been so much going on that we should be live on LinkedIn. Hopefully it's already been carrying it, but we should be live now if we aren't already live on LinkedIn. It's late on a Friday night here, joined by Paul at Villarreal. There's been so much going on here, and I've been covering it on X. And again, I didn't want to come off I always got to be careful how I come off and stuff like that, as I don't know what, know it all, whatever like that, by no means. But as I saw some sort of, I think maybe not some comments, I'm not even going to characterize it, on different sides. And I try to, say to people like Elon and some others, and again, I'm not criticizing anybody, well, I'll do it. I'm not now, but if I have criticisms, we'll cover that. And I'll say this up front: I may make mistakes. This is obviously a hot topic. Paul and I love everybody. America's a land of immigrants, a land of opportunity, everything like that. If we make a mistake, we reserve the right to revise and extend, and we apologize ahead of time. Now, but one of the things I was saying is this is a complicated issue. I think if people are fully informed, and I'm not even saying I'm fully informed, but I, lean on my law and economics training. I lean on my experience in Silicon Valley. I lean on my deep experience in politics and everything like that. There's a lot of different facets to this. And I think it's, once again, like, we love having, tech, if not big tech, and the VCs in the mix. It just like, I knew this day was coming. I predicted it years ahead of time. It's so great to have them involved here, but it's hard to. Wow, Silicon Valley has a lot of egos. No different than Wall Street or Hollywood or definitely DC. Maybe, some professional sports locker rooms and stuff like that. And, I think that there's a little, too much self-satisfied comments there sometimes. And you have to know what you don't know. And I think some people got over their skis. Now, again, that's okay, right? I mean, this is part of a discussion, and I'm anti-cancel culture and stuff like that. And part of the difficulty, like, if I had a live show every day, I'd have to cover this every day. And then maybe day one, I make a mistake, and day two, I've got to clean it up, or day one, I make a mistake, and day five, I got to clean up, or whatever that it is. I mean, and if you're someone of, and I'm not saying this in particular, but I'm going to name names. If you're someone of an elite stature, a celebrity stature, a business titan stature, people are looking at your words, and you have to react. I give Trump massive credit on this, Paul. I'll bring you in here right now, and then we're going to get into the stuff and get your early comments. We've got comments from Vivek, Sean McGuire. I thought I had some good comments from Sequoia Capital, Elon Musk, and others. I think Trump has managed this very well in terms of hanging back, letting the discussion go, not saying anything, because the difference is, news reports aside, Elon can say stuff, Vivek can say stuff, different people can say stuff. That's not official policy. Trump says stuff, that's policy. And you want to make sure you're saying the right thing at the right time if you're going to talk about policy. I'm going to get into the quotes here. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Paul, your quick high-level reaction to this, any comments you have before we get into it?
Yeah, this is something that people knew was going to happen. This is something that was talked about weeks, months ago, that there was going to be this discussion because of how a lot of MAGA wants to kind of reduce immigration, and how some of those in tech are in favor of the H1Bs. and keeping that going, or having it a very robust program. So the people expected that this was going to happen. I don't know if people knew it was going to happen right now, but I'm not surprised. And I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that everybody involved in this, or most of the people involved in this conversation, are coming from a good place, and I could see their arguments. And again, for you and myself, we both worked in Silicon Valley. You more than me, but I know it, the Valley, well. And this is definitely something that's an important element of Silicon Valley, and where they believe that it is for a lot of the larger companies. So I understand that perspective. Yeah, I agree with you about President Trump as well. I don't think there's any real need for him to get into this right now. Let people talk about it, see what people are saying, and he's got other things on his mind. I think at this moment he's preparing to return to office. So yeah, I can understand why he's taken the approach that he's taken.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we've been talking about this for a long time. I interviewed Brad Feld, Foundry VC, Techstars, decades ago, like well over a decade and stuff like that, about startup visa and stuff like that. I think the general notion of wanting we should get into the quotes, but I think and then that's a better way to launch this. But I think the general notion of wanting the top talent is great. It's hard to argue with that, right? I think that I'll just say some high level things, and I'll have some disclosures here at first. In my mind's eye, as I said, like I have like some models worked out and stuff like that. Like I know as I said, this is a very complicated thing, a very complicated subject, and everything affects everything, if you will. And I think that if all sides were more fully informed, there would be a lot more agreement, in my opinion. And I'm not saying I'm fully informed, but I'm just saying, like, unfortunately, I don't have the time to do all the charts, all the research. In fact, we probably aren't going to see any charts tonight. I just have too much stuff going on. I do apologize, but I wanted to speak to this. And so, I will point you to some places where, or at least raise some ideas, raise some questions where you can maybe do some more research, and maybe we'll do a follow-up show. And I think a lot of people, I think the first day of this was like kind of terrible, Paul. I think the second day was mixed. It's getting better. Now we're getting some more thoughtful comments. I think it's starting to, some of the things I was thinking or saying, I think are starting to get out there. I'm not saying everyone's listening to me, but I'm just saying, like, I think that people are starting to. Charlie Kirk, I thought, had a very good show today. Don't agree with everything that he said, but I think that he brought up a lot of very strong points and an insight into what MAGA is thinking and why, and kind of poked holes in the quick arguments that maybe some of the tech people were saying. And I would caution tech. Love tech. Love the VCs. So happy. Tremont, Bravery has said some really great things and really stepped up. David Sachs. There's just, Teal, obviously Elon. There's so many people that, Andreessen and others. But again, I would caution tech. Tech has been the main point. And I kind of chastise a bit, Andreessen, and kind of, I love Andreessen, but I kind of went out and I kind of chastised him and had some critiques and some comments when, before. I thought there was a little bit of a self-satisfied quote there. I'm not saying, like tech was the first to get into this, the first to get this other. Wait a minute. Tech has been canceling people. Tech has been the biggest problem for a long time. Tech is, tech missed Trump won, tech missed MAGA, tech missed, the missteps with Obama, tech missed the cancel culture. A lot of tech is still with DEI. A lot of tech is still with ESG. There's a lot of different things. And I'm not, I'm not going to do a full analysis to criticize. I'm not, again, I'm just covering things right here. I'm not trying to critique anything, but I'm just saying, like, before you pat yourself on the back here, tech, you just admit that you've taken some L's, you've made some mistakes. So either you were part of the problem or you missed completely this. At least Chamath has had the humility to talk about some stuff. Now, at a high level, well, on that point is when there's any criticism of this, yeah, there's some, of course, there's some people saying some very bad things, and we disavow those. You're going to find that on all sides of the argument, on all kinds of different things. If you take, you have extremists on different things, whether it's criminal justice, whether it's abortion, whether it's all, you can find the little anecdote here. Okay. But the anecdote, I don't want to get into all kinds of other hot topics. Doesn't prove the point. If you have one person with one bad sign at a rally of 100,000 people, does that make all 100,000 people bad? If you've got someone in some corner of the internet over here that says something that is really not good and we disavow it, something like that, that doesn't, invalidate the argument of entire market. That doesn't make all of MAGA bad people. That doesn't make all of MAGA racist, which, by the way, the majority of people, if I remember correctly, I have to look at the things again, voted for Donald Trump. Okay. And my daughter took a picture here of the show. She got a little camera there. She's doing, hey, by the way, point of personal privilege here. And we're going to talk here about my daughter's been doing great on the online chess thing. And she's had, let me share a screen here. Let me share. she's beaten the chess bot Yeti a number of times. Didn't do so good against Gingerbread Man. I beat Gingerbread Man. I'm not, but chess rating, it was of the bot was 800 for Gingerbread Man. Chess rating for Yeti was 450. She was almost doing good with Yeti, but that's not the point of what I want to do here. What I want to show here is very quickly here. Then I got to get back to the show, Janir. She's adorable, and I'm very proud of her. In fact, she just rode she just rode a bike for the other day, which is awesome. And maybe I'll be able to show that. Maybe I don't know. So what I want to show here is we're going to get to some different things here. Let me see what I'm doing here. Let's go to this. Yeah. Okay. So I posted about my daughter. Okay. And I tagged one of the world famous chess people, the Botez sisters. Okay. And here we go. No less than Alexandra Botez liked the post of the Botez sisters. Huge following on there. I can't remember the rating. I really apologize. Alexandra Botez, I believe an international master. I think that's right. There's so many different rankings, and I do apologize. Not a grandmaster, but an international master, a rating in the, 2,200, 2,000, something very high chess rating. And I'm like, I said, be right back, playing online chess with my daughter. She's a fan of Alexandra Botez, and it's Andrea Botez sisters, and she decided to give me her own IQ. Says mean. She's 7. We'll see how this goes. Postscript, she asked me, their Botez is on X. I said yes, and shortly thereafter, Alexandra Botez did like that post. We really thank you, Alexandra Botez. It literally made my daughter's night. Were you excited? Come over here real quick. Were you excited about that? You were happy? You had fun? You like that? Huh? How about this? What do you have to say to Alexandra Botez for liking that post? You want to say something? Let's thank you or something? She's a little shy. You want to say thank you? Have you been playing chess.com today? Mm-hmm. Have you been doing good?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Go ahead.
Thank you for everything, the Botez sisters.
There you go. Very good. Thank you, buddy. Okay, we're back to the show. Sorry about that, Holiday. Had to say that. A lot of other people we have to thank, including Bill Ackman and a bunch of others that are coming up. But back to this issue. And this kind of, Paul, is a good segue because it goes to Vivek's post, and that's probably the best place to go next. And before I do that, what I wanted, because it's very related, this is a complex issue because we've had tech that's been wrong for so long. We've had the middle class that has been super punked out for a long time. We've had colleges that have that have punked out conservatives, in my opinion. We've had tech and elite jobs that punked out conservatives. We've had the culture that's turned against, middle America and stuff like that. We've had this almost open border situation, and people criticizing that. We've had a really tough situation for middle America. So then we see this, and I take definitely take Vivek's point in certain ways, but I think he really missed the mark in a lot of ways, and definitely missed the mark politically. This is a long quote. We're going to dive through it. And he got a lot of heat for it. But I really like Vivek, and I really appreciate Vivek. And I appreciate Keith Verboy. Keith Verboy had a comment on something, and I may go to that. And I think he's liked a couple of my posts recently, if I remember correctly. And Keith really stuck up for MAGA. And we're going to go to that. So, I mean, you can't paint with a broad brush. You got to let people, and we have to allow space for people to make mistakes. We got to allow space for people to work through it. You can't, if Silicon Valley and tech people, if you say you're elite, top IQs, top colleges, best in the world, whatever like that, and you may be missing some of this, and maybe your own thinking has evolved over the last couple days, weeks, months, whatever it is on MAGA and Trump and everything like that, then, give some slack to middle America that maybe didn't go, maybe has a different, perspective, maybe went to a different college, maybe doesn't know doesn't understand your hiring concerns, was maybe trying to feed their family. Maybe he's living in a place where it's punked out by, fentanyl and opioids and stuff like that. I mean, the one that I could understand this is J.D. Vance. When you come from where J.D. Vance came from, and to some extent, Vivek, you have some perspective on this, but we all go through what we go through. Vivek had a statement here that to some degree, it felt like a very personal statement, and that's okay, but maybe it kind of felt a little bit like he's got a chip on his shoulder to some degree. I may be missing that. But I love the fight in Vivek, and I love the perspective. And I think it's okay to have the conversation, but it was definitely a sharp statement that was seen by, I believe now, let me get to it here. I think it was 90 million people saw this on X, Paul. And wow, I mean, this opened up a can. Is there anything you want to say before I get into this quote from Vivek?
Yeah, look, I agree with what you had said there, which is it's important to remember the context of people who might not be associated with Silicon Valley or at an elite level, because that's a lot of, MAGA is the average person in general. And so that's who you're talking to. That's who you're trying to convince with your argument. So yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. So let's go to the Vivek thing. It's going to be long. Now, 91 million people here, okay? And full disclosure, I liked the comment that, and just so you know, and I'll say it right now, because I repost something, like something, follow someone, fill in the blank, that doesn't mean I endorse all of it, support all of it, or even much of any of it. Obviously there's something there. It's that I think that it's, maybe I appreciate him, and I'm not saying this specifically, but it could be, I appreciate, the honesty. It could be, I appreciate, I think this is important to talk about. It could be anything, but it doesn't mean I'm endorsing all of that type of stuff. You understand what I'm trying to say here? I can't even, do the disclaimers right here. I'm trying to manage a little 7-year-old over here. That's kind of, trying to get in the shot here. That's okay. You're amazing, and I love you, and you're the best. Okay. Now, Vivek, here we go. We're going to dive right into it. Let's get into it. Let me make sure I've got everything here. Okay, yeah. All right. Now, the reason top tech companies, and again, Vivek Ramaswamy, billionaire, started a biotech company, very successful, Yale Law School, Harvard, valedictorian, all of his, all that type of stuff. Okay. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers. And if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. Okay, now I'm going to stop and talk about that. Well, let me go let me go one line further. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World and Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. Now, listen, there's a lot of truth in that, okay? And he's specifically talking about engineers. It's hard to argue with a lot of that logic. And many on the right have long decried, like, hey, the family, the attack on the family, the church, religion, Merry Christmas, whatever that it is. So don't be shocked and horrified when now someone comes back and they're basically saying similar things from their own perspective. Now, when we start talking about valedictorian over the jock, I mean, that kind of, maybe I'm wrong, and I apologize if I'm wrong, Vivek, but that kind of feels like he's kind of, I don't know, has his own perspective in this. But, and I think Tommy Lauren or someone said, oh, it's, the prom queen and the jocks are good. Listen, an NFL quarterback's elite, talent too. But we're talking about, what did he say? The best engineers. So, if what he's saying, Paul, and what I experienced, and I put a comment out there. Look, I was in the gym. I won multiple national championships. I was third place in the world championships in my sport. And I went to elite universities and graduated from honors from Johns Hopkins and MBA and all, had 3 advanced degrees from elite universities, have super genius IQ, all this type of stuff. And I was in the gym, as you know, and we could talk about this, and maybe you can at least vouch for me a little bit, since I was literally 8 years old. And I don't mean like, oh, I wouldn't want, no. I was training hard, consistently, since I was 8 years old. Is that true or false, Paul?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. I would constantly go Friday nights, Saturday nights in high school. Where was I at? I was either in the gym, I was home studying, or I was playing video games. One of the three. Is that correct? Or maybe D&D too. Correct or incorrect?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Again, this isn't a pat myself on the back. What it is to say is, if you look at other systems for sports, Soviet system, East German system before, Cuban system now, some of the athletic, systems that have been successful. If we look, they say the same thing with boxing. If you don't start young, I mean, the point, it's swimming, tennis, riding, golf, some of these things. To be great at anything, you need discipline and sacrifice. And when we have a culture where these kids are glued to the screens, okay, and spending just untold hours on that, watching stuff. And listen, I'm a content creator. I hope people watch my content, stuff like that. You can, we've talked about this with what you can find on social media in China, engineering, space, stuff like that. I haven't verified this myself. I'm going off news reports, so I could be 100% wrong. Versus like the TikTok dances and stuff like that here in America. There's nothing against, dances. I mean, listen, America produces the best entertainment. There's nothing wrong with entertainment. But I guess what he's saying is, what are you trying to prioritize? Don't cry about, top tech companies wanting top tech talent. And if it's not here, they're going to look globally. No different than the NBA recruits globally. The NFL recruits globally, but particularly the NBA, baseball recruits globally. All right. Companies recruit globally. That's what it is. So in that context, that makes sense. All right. Okay, a picture that she wants you to see. Here you go. That she draws. She's amazing draw. In fact, how about this? I have to do the show. Why don't you get some of your best drawings and I'll show everybody some of your best drawings. Get the best drawings. She just cranks them out so fast. She's an incredible drawer and artist for her age. I'm not saying she's Picasso, but she's so much like definitely better than average. And like I couldn't even draw my. Okay, we're gonna continue here. Fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 1990s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. The other thing is Vivek, I mean, is this a 1990s argument? Is this a 2000 argument? I don't know. I mean, we're on the verge now of AGI, of AI, of superintelligence, of artificial intelligence agents and stuff like that, where, the first thing to go is one of the first things is the coding and stuff like that. Like if you have a 7-year-old now, I mean, what's the best way for them to spend their time? That's a question mark. I don't know, so, so anyway, more movies like Whip. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great. All right. Let me do this. All right. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Well, shit, right. And so, okay, we're going to talk to you in a second, actually. That's not a bad thing. We'll get her perspective because she's got a highly accomplished mother who's at work right now as a doctor doing her overnights. We've got, a highly accomplished father, I'd like to believe, right? And, I don't want to say struggled, but we've constantly analyzed and calibrated and readjusted how we raise our daughter because we want her to be super successful, but we want her to enjoy her childhood. She's at a point now, as you can see, where she wants to jump in the videos. She wants to do her own videos and she's doing stuff with whatever. And I've told my wife, like, hey, listen, and there's some people, content creators that are her age or younger that are super successful and already have plenty of money. They can fund their college or some are even set for life. Now, of course, that's, whatever. But I believe that like, there's a lot of, I'd rather her be a creator than a consumer. Does that make sense? Right? I want her to get, whether she has 10 subscribers or 1 million subscribers, there's value in being able to speak publicly. There's value in being able to present. There's values in being able to create. There's value in being able to express yourself. She's clearly an artist, right? And so when I was young, and Paul can vouch for this too, I had the super genius IQ, but I didn't have a lot of friends. I had a hard time expressing my thoughts and just kind of communicating as I've said, and I said this because there was one person like, hey, how much would you pay for 5 more IQ points? And I tried to explain, like, listen, I was in my head as a kid. Okay. And it was at first I was working on my strengths, but the biggest thing that I could do and the biggest thing that I've done to be able to move the needle for my life is work on my weaknesses because I had very, very strong, extremely super elite strong strengths. And I had strong weaknesses too. So I had to kind of bring these things up. And you would never be able to tell it now because I'm a professional communicator, right? I've done professional media and stuff like that. But believe me, it was a struggle. And as I've said for a long time, whether it's beautiful mind, that's a little bit different, but the smarter you are, the quote unquote crazy you are or something like that. And so, but it's like anything else. By definition, you're different. And I've said this before, and I don't want to swerve into this, but they had this great HBO documentary on Andre the Giant. And the world's not built for giants. He had a hard time buying a car, buying a bed. Shaq is showing the same thing, buying suits, traveling, people messing with him, just fitting in a plane, all of the above. And so, particularly if you're very high IQ, it's almost like you're living in a different world. Paul, would you agree with some of this? Can you vouch for any of this? What are your thoughts on this as I continue with Vivek in a second?
Yeah, look, it is. I mean, it is a different thing. It's a different zone. And I think that that's true. But like you said, is when, look, and again, those guys are in their own zone. Elon, Vivek, the very elite, They're in their own circles. They're in a high level thing. But this is the thing that's great about Trump is Trump still has a good feel for the average person.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you have to remember that when you're talking with people in general as a leader, but certainly as a politician. And as you said, the people here aren't the people that are concerned with the H1B program or how large it is, or the tech people pursuing it over perhaps giving more Americans jobs. They're not, they don't understand it, or they don't say, well, why can't we, what about the people here? So it's not like there's a bad motive here. It just doesn't make sense to them. And if you want to explain it to them, you have to come out of your zone or your bubble and be able to do that. And so, like I said, I think President Trump is very good at that, and maybe it's something that Elon and Vivek can work on a little bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah, and many things can be true at the same time. Like you can't decry Americans can't do it when a lot of Americans have been punked out. They've been punked out economically, so they couldn't afford to go to school, stuff like that. They've been punked out politically. They've been punked out because some colleges and some top places. I mean, again, Elon's the one that has shown the before and after. I believe, I may be wrong, but if some people out there that have shown the before and after of Twitter. Hey, here's the people. Here's Twitter before I bought it. Then here's the people that protected free speech and stuff like that. So there's different things out there. So in other words, when you have just viscerally, and again, your specific issues that you're seeing, no different than like, hey, Tom Brady saying, hey, I need these players, or Patrick Mahomes saying, I need these players, whatever. That's not, for my line or for my team. That's not, you can't set immigration policy to that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, that's not policy for the whole country. Like, if you need more O1s or more, I know someone, that went to the same law school I do, that's, in my opinion, specializes in, and anyway, I don't want to get into that, but I mean, like there's hold on, let me just think for a second. The H1B visa is different than the extraordinary ability visa, right? And look, Elon's had his own journey, and thank gosh we have Elon over here. It's phenomenal. I mean, but you also have to give credit. Like, America's still the best country. Players, we're all here. Silicon Valley's here, so you gotta give respect to the people that's here, and you got to give them a chance. There's people, the middle class and conservatives particularly, have been punked out for decades, not one decade, decades, multiple, okay, or very close to it. Very, very close to it now, all right? And maybe even longer, depends on what you want to say. If you're continuing from the 60s, I mean, if you look at in terms of the populist movement, stuff like that, if you look at Reagan and Trump being the sort of anomalies. I mean, you look at a string of DC leadership here that some would say wasn't really super representative of middle America, regardless of party. Right? Why do people talk about the uniparty? People are dealing with the situations in apartment buildings, subways, stores, all kinds of different things happening. And, before Trump's even in office, people started, hey, we need 8 more H1B visas. There's people in the border towns that are feeling absolutely overrun. That doesn't mean we don't need more H1B visas. I haven't looked at it extensively. And I think there's good arguments on all sides. I will say this. From a first principles standpoint, America, we love everybody and we welcome everybody. And that's on the Statue of Liberty. And that's like how the country was founded and all the rest. Okay. In my opinion. And, you had people that took a chance, they came over here. And even if you want to go all the way back to, Leif Erikson and the Vikings and the land bridge, and all that type, from 20,000 years, whatever it is, whatever the anthropology is. The point is that America's open for everybody. And of course we want the top talent. This is the shining beacon on the hill from Reagan and stuff like that. Of course, we want the top talent, but it has to be fair for everyone. And the thing is I have literally had, and I'll be careful, top executives, or at least I've seen some stuff, and I've personally talked to someone, in my opinion, top executive that said, during COVID, I'm not going to name names, no way, that they were waiting for the recession so that wages could come down. That I couldn't believe that X and Y is getting this much money now, so that whatever. It's like, bro, so don't think it's not a thing that corporations and companies don't want to maximize profits. Of course they do. Outsourcing didn't just start yesterday. What's the reason for outsourcing? Profit. Now, maybe that's one reason. Could be that maybe you want a distribution center, closer to local markets. There's multiple reasons, but one of them is definitely profit. Definitely lower cost of inputs. That's capitalism. And that's okay. And what MAGA has to understand is if we have more productivity, all of this is complicated and all of this is simple, right? You want the most people working as productively as possible. That creates the most good. And when you have a lower cost of goods produced, you have more goods for everyone. So lower inputs means cheaper stuff to buy. So it all relates. And then you can have more people with more wealth that can start more companies that can start more stuff. When you have the markets functioning properly, and they haven't functioned properly for quite some time, with the overregulation, that's Doge, with the overtaxation, with the political stuff of cancel culture and all the rest. If you can get, and the problem I would say to my tech brethren out there, VC, those kind of people, is if you just take a pause. Let Trump get in office. Let him fix some of these things. Let people breathe a little bit. And then we can address some of these things. It's not going anywhere. Now, I understand where Elon's coming from, which is like, he's literally doing rocket ships and trying relanding them and trying to get to Mars and doing everything. And he wanted it all done yesterday, and I get it. So he's on a different time frame. But everyone's going to understand the thing here. If we have this protectionist mindset where it's like, oh no, we're, we're going to almost have a tariff thing on H1B visas and whatever. I don't think that's not the most effective thing. Now, there is nothing wrong with people, and that's what the MAGA movement is about, to say, hey, America is for Americans, and policymakers need to take care of their constituents first. But there's also a bigger picture here. And who wouldn't want the next Elon Musk here, the next fill in the blank? Andrew Yang talked about his dad, stuff like that. Let me get back to what Vivek's saying here. Before I do that, I mean, I know I went on for a little bit. Anything more you want to add before I get back to it, Paul?
Yeah, look, as you said, I think that the concept of letting this play out a little bit, let Trump get into office, is the way to go. Again, I think this came up because of discussion around the guy that's going to be like the AI czar or whatever. I think that's where it generated from. But you could defend that guy and not get into all of this. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. I agree with that. Okay, so back to Vivek. Okay. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. Most normal American kids view those kinds of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy is what you'll achieve. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s or even now who raise their kids according to one mom versus the other. Be brutally honest. And maybe this is part of the whole tiger mom thing or something like that. I don't know. I don't know, but basically, this is kind of, as I said in my post, this is kind of Athens versus Sparta. Both great cities, both very successful, but one certainly was much more prepared for a competitive environment. One produced more arts and different things like that. I don't think you can, and one was definitely more pleasant to live in, right? So I don't think you can criticize one or the other. I mean, Here's the thing too, Vivek. What parent doesn't want their kids to live a better life and an easier life than they did? That's the whole point. So all of these things can be true, and so, normalcy doesn't cut it in. So even the super athletes in these other systems, a lot of them defected to come here to have a better life. So Mike Tyson, I don't want my kids to box. I did it so they don't have to. You know what I mean? I think that's what he said. I mean, if he didn't, others did, I believe. So, I mean, that's my recollections. I apologize, Iron Mike, if I get that wrong. Normalcy doesn't cut in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. And if we pretend it like it does, we'll have our blank handed to us by China. This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from a slumber before, and we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up, a culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellency over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. Now, listen, I agree with that. Hard work over laziness, right? That's the work we have cut out for us rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislating alternative hiring practices to existence. I'm confident we can do it. 91.1 million people have seen this. 129,000 have liked it. Many people reposted it. Got a lot of attention. Your total take on Vivek's comment there, Paul?
Look, again, I think, you summarize most of the stuff. Yes, there are definitely issues with American culture right now. I believe that, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, as you pointed out. That's true. However, like you said, there's a lot of people who have struggled in the American culture. They struggled because things they felt like imposed upon them, like cancel culture, like changing curriculum, this type of thing. Like, so they've had to work around this, like perhaps fewer jobs being available, more opioid issues, this type of thing. So people have had to done the best that they could with a lot of this. And so, as you said before, it's hard to judge people if those are the circumstances. On the other hand, there are a lot of great things about American culture. That is why people are coming here. That is why people still want to move here, even if they aren't guaranteed an H1B visa. That's why people still want to come to this country, because you can succeed and make something out of yourself. So it's both of those things. And look, I know what Vivek is trying to say, and I think the overall point, I think there's a lot of truth to it. However, like I said, I think you might have been able to frame it a little bit differently, and again, perhaps just say it in a different way, perhaps.
Sean McGuire, and he's like the number of my posts. Great guy, I hope I'd be able to call him a friend, at least a Twitter friend or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's too much. I don't know. But really appreciate Sean. Very smart guy. I believe his PhD from Caltech. I'm a big fan of Sequoia Capital. I knew some of their big wigs and founders and stuff like that, obviously through my old boss, Mario Rosati at Wilson Sonsini University Rosati, and then my own contacts later. But I definitely would have been nothing in the Valley had it not been for Mario Rosati, Larry Sonsini, Patrick Schulteis, and the great people of Wilson Sonsini, University Rosati, John Goodrich, and John Wilson, and others and stuff like that. But particularly, Mario and Patrick Schulteis, Larry Sonsini, and others. Anyway, so again, as I like to say, I'm nobody. I just know a lot of things, know a lot of people. Half of Americans' voices. Sean McGuire right here. Yes. So Caltech physics PhD, partner at Sequoia. And here we go. And very influential person, no doubt about it. And much more so than any of his followers, in my opinion. Half of America's voices were silenced for a decade. This is about an hour ago. And we forgot what civic debate looks like. It's a healthy learning process. And of course, with a teeny number of genuinely bad apples, but together we save America. And that's in response to Charlie Kirk 2 hours ago. If I was a smart leftist, I would go all in on trying to create a schism between MAGA and tech world. We must resist this. And I think Charlie's done a great job. And I think Sean McGuire's done a great job. And this is basically the comment that I've been saying for days now. And Sean McGuire, to his credit, has come around. And again, what's great about the tech world And a lot of these people they're very smart, and they're going to iterate, and they're going to, pivot very quickly. And so I really appreciate that comment, your comments on that comment, Paul.
Yeah, I think that's a good, short, simple summary of the situation, which is, look, we're going to talk about this. It's not a schism. It's not anything. It's people discussing this thing. Look, to be fair, the media is waiting for things like this, in my opinion. I'm talking about the media that is particularly, not big fans necessarily of President Trump or the MAGA movement. This is the same type of reaction, in my opinion, that they had to the government spending bill, which is, oh, look, there's dissension and what's Trump going to do? And Trump didn't win, and this type of thing. So they're looking for cracks. They're trying to look for cracks and exaggerate them, just as Charlie Kirk, I think, was pointing out there. I thought that McGuire's comment is right on. That's exactly correct. This isn't anything. Look, it's a real discussion. Don't get me wrong. It is a valid discussion. However, I still think in the end, it's a tempest in a teapot. It'll get resolved. It'll get worked out exactly as Sean McGuire is saying. This is a normal discussion, and we're going to move forward.
Now we've got here Elon Musk had just put this up. This is about an hour ago, and it was even minutes ago before. And Elon obviously has strong comments, and he's the biggest voice on X and the owner of X. And we thank you, Elon, for he is the owner. He spent $44 billion to buy X and allow us, people like Daddy and others, to have free speech and the whole world to have free speech, in my opinion, on X. And we definitely appreciate Elon. We appreciate his support of President Trump and the MAGA movement and everything like that. And so, we're very thankful for that, no doubt about it. And we're very happy that Elon is here and creating all kinds of stuff, including the car that we're going to get, hopefully, on Monday. We may be getting a Tesla on Monday. I don't want to jump the surprise and stuff like that. We're very excited about that. Our first Tesla. America rose to greatness over the past 150 years because it was a meritocracy more than anywhere on earth. And just a side point, she's very excited too, but she loves the car that we have. She's grown up in the car that we have and stuff like that. So we're keeping the car. We're keeping the car. We're having two cars. Okay. America rose to great. America, very, very, very protective of that. America rose to greatness over the past 150 years because it was a meritocracy more than anywhere else on earth. I will fight to my last drop of blood to ensure that it remains a land of freedom and opportunity. And that's great. And listen, I think that's a great comment, but now there's been some different comments and some different accusations back and forth and stuff like that. And so, Elon said some different things. What do you think about that, Paul?
What is he saying? I want to make sure I heard this correctly. So I'll fight to the end to keep it a meritocracy.
Yeah, it's a meritocracy. Yeah. America rose to greatness because of meritocracy.
Good. I think it's good, but again, just in my personal opinion with this stuff is, let's just dial down the drama on all this. We don't need these sweeping general. I'm going to go to the last to make it keep that way. Well, nobody's saying we're not going to be that. We're having a discussion about what this H1B visas. And are there people here that can fulfill those jobs? This isn't a thing where you got to fight to the end to protect this. Again, like I said, I think there's a bit too much drama and overheatedness to this discussion in certain respects. And like I said, as Sean McGuire was saying, look, we're not used to having some of these discussions. Okay, let's air it out. Let's just kind of go through it a little bit. But I think everybody can kind of take it down a notch. That would be a good thing. However, the principle of what Elon is saying, I totally agree with. We do want a meritocracy, 100%. But that means you have to evaluate all applicants from everywhere. And so, I think that's part of what some people are saying as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like we have so many things that need to be fixed right now. A lot of people say that we have a broken recruiting system that's like AIs all over. We have, a lot of these people have also decried the university and stuff like that. And let's get Trump in office. Let's fix a lot of these things. And then we can look at what we need. How do we know what number if we don't know what the full talent is here in America, how do we know what numbers that we need H1B visa? My daughter wants to do a quick magic trick here. And if I don't do that, I'm afraid that we may continue to get some interruptions here. You have 30 seconds here or less, Janera. What do we want to do here? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Something's going to come out of them.
Yes. Wow. What is that? Is that gum? What do you got there? What is that? Glue? Well, thank you for that magic trick. And you know what? You did that in 10 seconds.
Secret of magician.
That's a good secret. We appreciate that. Super cute. Thank you for that. The indulgence there on that. So, okay. Back to this. So, yeah, I mean, listen, this is part of the thing too with a lot of these VCs, Paul, and a lot of these, top executives and stuff like that. Politics is a different art. Politics is the art of persuasion. It's not just, some of these people, and I'm not criticizing anyone in particular.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, I'll say something about that when
Go
you're
ahead.
done.
Okay. Oh, I'll say, so I'll just, it's like, and Trump, as he transitioned, but I think he was much savvier with this. This isn't sitting in The Apprentice, you're fired, or hey,
Right.
telling someone you're going to do this, and now all of a sudden the whole company does this, whatever, or issuing an email, and now the whole company is going to do whatever.
Right.
This is, you have to talk to people, convince people, think about this. And
That's
go ahead.
That's what I'm saying here. And again, I love Elon. I love Vivek.
I love Elon.
I love the MAGA movement and the people that constitute it. What I'm saying with Elon is I think sometimes with Elon, there's a tendency to, if I from up high on Mount Olympus write a real zinger tweet, then that's the end of the discussion. And it's never going to be like that. I mean, you have to like talk this out. It's not that you are the champion of meritocracy and nobody else is. It's not as simple as that. And like I said, look, I want to tell a personal story about someone I know who was part of that program, or I believe that they were, and just kind of like how it kind of affects my thinking about this a little bit. And again, we're absolutely for everybody. I am totally for a full meritocracy, completely. As you said though earlier, I do think that there is a profit motive involved in some of this. Which, to bring it back to President Trump, he recently wrote a Truth Social post about the longshoremen, and basically what he said is, look, some of these foreign companies that are doing business at our U.S. docks, we know you're thinking about profits, and you want to do more automation, like robotic stuff, rather than using people. However, our people need jobs, and you need to think about them. So, in other words, that's what I would kind of remind the tech people as well. Is like, look, you guys need to make your profit, you need to make your margins, but we also need to have people here that have jobs. And so, like, I think it's a total picture here as well.
Yeah, it's a total picture here as well. There's a lot of different things going on about it, and we just have to kind of drill down on it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's not easy, and so I think that we have to continue to work on this. You know what I mean?
And let me just look. I can just tell my story here real quickly. This guy I went to school with, great guy, and from another country, who ended up going to work in Silicon Valley. He was there when I was out working with John out in Silicon Valley. Knew the guy, was in touch with him when he was out there. Did well. Again, we knew each other from college, and I love this guy. I'm not going to say who he is.
Yeah, let's keep it
a skilled guy. No doubt. However, I think that there are other people here in America that could have done the job that he was doing? Yes, I do. And so that's, like I said, this isn't somebody, in my opinion, who, and I totally respect this guy. This isn't someone who is the world championship Olympic caliber guy that you have to go outside of America to go and find. I think you could have found somebody similar to this individual here in America. And so, because I know that, and I've had that experience with that, and that's, of course, an anecdote, doesn't explain all the different interactions here. And there are people, I'm sure, who are at that level that aren't here in America, and you do need to get them. But like I said, I think that's what is that's what some people hear, and even some people that know some of how the Valley works with this in this regard. And I know some just other information I've read and come across where it's, are you getting the best people? Are we really sure you're getting the best people here? And I think that's where some people who don't have familiarity with the Valley, but also people that do have familiarity with the Valley, are coming from as part of the argument here. If we are going to ensure that we're getting the top of the heap, are we really getting that?
Yeah, and now Elon Musk had another, and I'm going to get to that right here in a second. Elon Musk had another thing here that I liked, 7 hours ago. Anyone of any race, creed, or nationality who came to America and worked like blank to contribute to this country will forever have my respect. America's land of freedom, opportunity, fight with every fiber of your being to keep it that way. But Elon said a lot of other stuff.
Totally agree with that. I think that's a great statement.
It's a great statement. Now, to your point, Paul, and I just read this.
And look, let me just say real quickly. Elon came to this country on an H1B visa. So he knows what he's talking about, and Elon is elite. So we'll give him that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're fine. And look, and this is what I'm saying. That's why I knew I took a while to do this, because there's a lot to talk about here, and if I had charts, I could have literally spent like days, if not a week, on this.
Oh yeah, this is something we could talk about literally for days.
Yeah, for days. But now I just opened this up. And I didn't want to use a bunch of clips and other people's stuff, whatever like that. I mean, I could do the fair use thing, whatever. But I mean, that would have taken a lot of time. But I just opened, as you can see here, I've got to focus on my daughters too. So I just opened this up. This is from Harvard Business Review, Paul. Harvard, and I haven't read through all of it. I've just super skim, and I'm like, we're going through this almost at the same time here. And this is Harvard Business 2017. And let's see what it says here. The H1B visa debate explained by Nicole Torres. This is Harvard Business Review. Okay. So this is no right-wing publication, no fly-by-night situation here. Okay. It's hard to get more of a platinum name than Harvard Business Review. Okay. And so if we go down here and we'll go to, the hard to overstate the significance or complexity of the systems. This is a complex thing, and we're going through, we received this many petitions for this many visas and stuff like that. Talked about Trump, and we'll go back to some of these things here. One of the pull quotes here is, compared to Silicon Valley firms, IT services companies tend to hire H1B workers for lower paying entry level work. So wait a minute. What's the argument of the 0.1%, 0.01%, the best of this, the super elite? Maybe for some, not for all. Okay.
Not for all.
For example, Axios, again, no right-wing publication, reported that 72.4% of Tata's H1B visa filings were for jobs paying between $60,000 to $70,000 a year. Compared to Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and Microsoft, mostly filled jobs that paid well above $100,000. Okay, what
category of jobs are those?
Jobs just paying like 60 to 70. So obviously, it's not like it's.
What you said for what? Tatas?
For Tata, it's 72.4%. Yeah. Another going on. This difference in pay gets at one of the main criticisms of H1B program. Rather than bringing the world's quote unquote best and brightest talent in the country to work alongside Americans, the system appears to bring in cheaper foreign labor that can hurt American workers' employment and income prospects. It's a compelling argument.
Yeah.
Okay. Numerous American IT workers have been laid off and then asked to train their H1B replacements after their employers chose to outsource the IT department work instead of keeping it in-house. Now, there's footage on CBS, Charlie Rose, I believe this was 60 Minutes or something like that, or some report where they talked about how this happened. I think I think I may be wrong. I'm not alleging anything. If I remember correctly, I apologize if I'm wrong. I think it was like, at an entertainment company. Okay. And I'm not even going to name the name. I may be wrong and stuff like that. See the report. It's easy to find out there. how they were literally training their replacements, and the replacements didn't know anything, and they had to bring them up to speed. I personally have seen stuff online. I don't know whatever. I haven't, but I think it was from some firm about like how, oh, we're going to, how you have to put up these postings, but it's not, and basically how you can skirt around hiring American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I've seen something very similar to that.
And it's almost like these ghost job postings. We know about like how broken a lot of people have talked about how broken the recruiting system and the hiring system is. And I think some of these tech people have talked about HR departments, and then basically if you don't cut and paste the exact job requirements and stuff like that, you'll never get an interview. Or we've heard people talk about, instead of the 1, 2, maybe 3 interviews. I mean, the second interview has always been a thing. Now, Paul, there's 7 interviews. There's 9 interviews. Some of these things last for it's insane. So
this is what I think. There are people just in part of MAGA who might be a little bit aware of this type of thing, or they're just generally skeptical of, really, we can't find people here. But then, like I said, I think people that have even more familiarity with the Valley and with these types of things, like I said, you've heard this type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I know what's going on with my friend, who's, again, I'm sure did a great job. But it's when the more you know about this, in my opinion, the more critical you can be of it. And again, I am absolutely 100% in favor of the concept of, yes, let us go and get the best people around the world and bring them to American companies and have them help those companies succeed, 100%. But when you actually get into the nuts and bolts of it, again, is that what is taking place? And I think that's a fair question to ask, and it deserves a real answer.
What's going on here with the Harvard Business Review thing here, very important. Is there a shortage of technical skills in the U.S.? And it talked above about like, hey, tech people say we need top stuff and whatever like that. And again, the concept at a high level, if we want we want to attract the world's best talent. Absolutely. The Oppenheimer and all that stuff, whatever, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Is there a shortage of technical skills in the U.S.? There is mixed evidence about the existence of the extent of a STEM skills shortage. Companies say they struggle to find qualified workers for specialized positions. First of all, do you know how many times I've been told I've been overqualified for a position and stuff like that? How many people have been told that? So, I mean, so which is it? We don't have qualified people, but you're overqualified. I mean, so anyway, suggesting there's a shortage of necessary skills. Some experts say there are plenty of American workers who could fill these jobs. Yeah. And if employers were truly desperate for skills, wages for skilled positions would surge, and they haven't. But they haven't. And that's the thing, Paul. If there's the charts I could show here where productivity, American productivity has gone up and up and up and really has increased, but wages adjusted for inflation have been pretty much lagging, have been closer to flat in that. If I remember that, I mean, there's been a stark gap between wages, inflation adjusted wages and productivity. No, so wages should track productivity, but they haven't. Okay. And so, so we go on here. And so it basically, there, what did I say? STEM wages have stayed depressingly flat. And they write, so this is a research here from Rutgers University. For every 2 students that U.S. colleges graduate with STEM degrees, only 1 is hired into a STEM job. Okay. I mean, there
How many? What was that? Say that again?
For every 2 students that U.S. colleges graduate with STEM degrees, only 1 is hired into a STEM job.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah. And that basically,
and look, just say this quickly. I mean, I think most people understand this, but maybe there's some who don't. This is what people understand. And look, it's been a while since I've been in the Valley. The Valley is extremely difficult, high-level work. It is, it's routinely, if you're doing anything with tech or startup, you're doing, you're talking most of those gigs. Yeah, it might technically be 5 days a week. It's more like 6 to 7 days a week of heavy, heavy hours. And so, you have to get people that are committed to doing that. And to be completely honest with you, if there are, in my opinion, if there are people who are, um, if people feel like their ability to remain in the situation is contingent upon fulfilling that requirement, you might think that they're going to do better work or more work for you than maybe another group of people might do. So I understand that type of thinking, or that potential mentality. But like I said, get the people that can do the thing the best. And maybe, if there's 1 out of every 2 STEM graduates that's not being hired, maybe they can do it too.
There's another thing here. So a literature review says by MIT found that there is and isn't of Yi Zhu and Richard C. Larson of MIT found that there is and isn't a STEM skill shortage. It depends on where you look. So in some places, like there's an oversupply of PhDs, but we need more data scientists. So it just depends on what you're talking about, right? And that makes sense, right? Then they looked at like, well, what about the money and different things like that? Now, this is very interesting here. Okay. Okay. And so hold on 1 second. I had it and then okay. Wait. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. So a quote further down here. Contrarily, Hira, who has been outspoken about the abuses of H1B visa system. That's the thing. And Vivek had to, talk about this as well. And he's talked about it before, in fairness. Before you talk about more, how about you talk about reforming it? How about you talk about making sure that everything's like right about Hira has been outspoken about the abuse of the H1B visa system, rebuffs the skilled shortage theory. Quote, if there's this terrible shortage, I think you'd see a different behavior and practices, he says. If there was really a skills shortage, you'd see more diversity in the tech industry. They'd hire underrepresented minorities and women. They'd be training people. This is the quote. They'd be training people in investing. They'd be retaining incumbent workers, not laying them off by the thousands. And you wouldn't see rampant age discrimination. And so he talks about some different things there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Look, we have 2 people in our family that are recent graduates, PhDs in STEM. I can tell you right now, in my opinion, from what I know them, they're both skilled like crazy. It is not easy to get a job in that field. It's not. Now, I think they've been trying to get more kind of an academic type of job than, say, like working in a tech industry type of job. But it's a challenge to get jobs in that field. That's from my understanding of it.
Here it goes on. The top occupation of H1B workers is computer systems analysts. These are back-end IT workers. I don't see how anybody could argue there's a shortage of these folks. He says hiring an H1B should, but doesn't require an employer to demonstrate any shortage. So the shortage argument is moot. If there is a severe shortage, then it should be easy for employers to show one, yet they've opposed any such requirement. So, go ahead,
that brings me back to what you said about the report, and I saw it as well, about supposedly putting out the job posting just kind of because you have to, even though perhaps I think the claim was that people already had somebody in mind that they were going to hire, but they have to do that because they have to do it. As I said, is give people, be realistic and be honest about this. Do the people have the skills? Are there people here that you could employ, and so on and so forth? I think that's what people want to know. And if you can demonstrate to them, then I think they'll accept that, but you got to demonstrate it to them.
At the end here, a quote from someone else here. I'm trying to figure out where that person is here. I'm just going through this, and I definitely apologize. Not that maybe the best show, but we're doing this in real time. I'll just read the quote here. This quote, this might sound self-serving coming from someone who works in academia, but one thing that's helped maintain our technological leadership is innovation and technical research, and immigration has helped us do that. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%, 1,000,000%.
100%.
Hansen says, immigration is an important part of why the U.S. is able to maintain its elite status. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
And that's why I say
Agreed.
all sides have points here. Now, I'm not talking about
They do.
the fringe that are saying,
They do.
you know, ridiculous stuff, whatever like that, that
Yeah.
everybody condemns.
Yeah.
I'm talking about,
Right.
you know, the good faith actors, if you will, whatever.
Right.
The different ends of this debate.
Yeah.
And I think that your comment is, and I think it goes to Sean McGuire's comments. We have to respect each other. Take the time. We don't all know it. I know a lot. I knew it in my mind's eye. I told people like, hey, I want to wait because I need to do a little more research here.
Yeah.
And I haven't done anywhere near the research that I want to do. But even just, you know, cursorily pulling this up and Paul having stories and me having and myself having stories, we've shown where this is way more complex than you think. Harvard Business Review says we don't know. I mean, we know some, and we got this, and there's problems.
Well,
Get this. Go ahead, Paul. You want to say something?
I think I think what you said is a really important point. I think it's important to treat people on both sides of this issue as good faith actors. Yes, there are bad faith actors on both sides, in my opinion. However, let's take these people that are having a discussion about this, a debate, as good faith. I think there are real points to be made on both sides. Maybe there are a certain percentage of these, you know, whatever it is, the things that aren't the highest skilled things, maybe some of that could go to Americans, but there are going to be people at a very, very, very elite level that might be outside of America that you want to bring in. I think both of those things might be true.
Right. And let me just say this and I gotta be very, very cautious here. You know, I think it's I say this, Elon, we love you. We absolutely love you. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I'm not judging anything, whatever like that. You know, I make mistakes constantly. I'm not saying you made any mistakes here, but I'm just going to show you something here. Elon, 11 hours ago, this is the right position for those of us who want America to win. For those who want America to lose for their own personal gain, I have no respect, zero. I don't know exactly what he's talking about, but, you know, that's a little bit of a sharp statement, you know, and there's a lot of other stuff. There's been a lot of back and forth, and I'm not going to go into the back and forth. Oh, that's cute. I'm not going to go into the back and forth and stuff like that. My daughter's taking pictures here, you know, and all that. I think we're in a good place on this. We're going to wind it down a little bit here.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're in a good place. And what I did want to do here, go ahead, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is, again, I think that now we're gotten to the crux of the matter on this. And we're not going to decide in one night. They're going to have to do more research, more presentation of facts, and so on and so forth. But I think we've got a good grasp of the reality of the debate.
Well, and look, and I will say that I have a couple more things to say about this. Here's Trump. Okay. Before, if you graduate from U.S. college, 2 or 4 year or doctoral, you should automatically get a green card to stay. Too often, talented grads are forced to leave and start billion-dollar companies in India instead of here. This is Trump talking about this and stuff, and I think that was in the All In podcast and all that.
That was, I believe, the All In. Yes.
Yeah, the All In podcast. So he's talking about that, and Sachs here, and Chamath, and Jason Calacanis, and David Freeberg and stuff like that. So, you know, what's important about that is look, if we have our elite universities in here and these are our graduates, I mean, those elite universities are American. We should benefit from that investment. So, you know, if we're having the best and brightest come over here, then we should benefit from that investment. That's just common sense. Excuse me 1 second. Yes. Very good. Trump. Excellent. So this is going to take time, and policy takes time. And I think it's a good discussion. I go back to what Sean McGuire said. Now, I want to give some shout outs to some people right here and some different things like that. So let's get into that. And I will kind of reference something that, you know, somewhat related, you know, with Keith Raboy, and I appreciate him stepping up. No doubt about it. Appreciate, you know, Bill Ackman. And I think we're getting some real leadership here, in my opinion. And so also John Makowicz here. Thank you for liking the post here. He's, I guess, a law professor in UT. That's I appreciate that. So thank you for liking that. Thank you, Naomi Jenkins. Appreciate that. I'm going through some stuff here, and let me pull this off. Let me make sure that I get it to the right thing. We did. Yes. Okay. So here we go here. So I'm bringing this up. This is Keith Verboy, and he had a response to someone that I may be able to find here. And I think that kind of, in my opinion, kind of followed a little bit what I was saying and kind of, brush back, a sort of leftist I'm going to criticize that. Brush back a critique of MAGA. I don't know. I have no idea where this person is coming from. And I really appreciate that from Keith Verboy. Okay. And this is a different subject. And again, we like everybody here and stuff like that. And all of that, peace, love, freedom, opportunity, everything, equality for everyone. Let me share this right here. Keith Verboy. Now, Keith Verboy, like my reply, Keith Verboy formerly of PayPal. I believe he's now with Coastal Ventures. I think he used to be with Founders Fund and stuff. He's out here. I believe he's out here in Miami, was part of the Miami tech movement, very, very accomplished, has done some great stuff, a great job on the All In podcast and stuff like that. And let me see if I can go to this here. Okay. So, and again, I do not endorse what's saying here. I'm going to be very careful about what's being said here and stuff like that. Matt Levine, I have no idea who this person is. I guess he previously was with JP Morgan in A16Z. You can see what his thing says here. This was December 25th. So Christmas, quote, this clash between the MAGA right and the tech right over skilled immigration is just an appetizer, by the way. The main course is going to be when MAGA right discovers that most of tech right leadership are married homosexual men. And this other person, True, Josh Wolf, Lux Capital, Trusty, I don't know who this person is either. Okay. And that's fine. And Keith Verboy is like widely known. In other words, my interpretation of that is not a big deal. Right. And so I responded to Keith and I said, yes, Verboy, widely known and not a thing, in my opinion. I'm pretty plugged in on the MAGA GOP media side and legit, I've never heard it come up once, ever, in my opinion. I've never heard of that, thing. Why would it? This is perhaps an absurd scare tactic, in my opinion. Also, here's a hint. If you're not OG MAGA or like extremely good, proven, candid political analysts, like me, honestly, in my opinion, please stop telling us what MAGA is going to do. Paul, we've heard this. I'm going to go back to my quote here. We've heard this so many times about, MAGA is going to do this. Trump's going to turn on Elon. This and that, whatever. From the same corporate media, from the same leftist shills that were all against MAGA, that said that Trump wasn't going to win, all this type of stuff, and so now they're going to tell us what's going on. Any comments on this before I continue, Paul?
Yeah, I think it's just wish casting. I think it's just people trying to make it happen. And I just don't. I agree with you. I think people don't care about that at all.
Please stop telling us what MAGA is going to do, especially if you're on the left and anti-MAGA or something. It's silly season, pre-47 to some extent, in my opinion. And here's some just examples. Trump will dump Elon, or Trump versus Elon. Yeah, right. Not going to happen. 2, tech bros are selling out MAGA. No, but it's okay to discuss policy civilly and hear each other out. And so again, this is, people follow our boy. A lot of people follow our boy, including Sean McGuire and others. So now we're seeing other, this theme being, I think, picked up. Like, it's okay to have these conversations. That's fine. That's how you work it out. That's how we all learn. I've learned some stuff. I love hearing from Elon and Keith Verboy and Catherine and all, and Peter Thiel and Charlie Kirk and Vivek and everyone else, Andreessen, and that's great. 3, MAGA doesn't like fill in the blank. Wrong. Here's 2 to 5 counterexamples, and there's plenty of examples of that have been circulating as well. Okay, and 4, et cetera, et cetera. And here's the pull quote. Show me any legit poll of any major GOP demo where this even ranks. Period.
Yeah.
I've advised campaigns. I've advised U.S. Senate campaigns, coast to coast players. I've run a campaign. Okay. In my opinion, I'm willing to, I'm willing to give you, in my opinion, all my personal, my recollection, I'm willing to give you top 20 issues, not top 5, not top 20 issues, which is 2 to 4x normal range, top 5, top 10, in my opinion. Don't chase red herrings. Okay. And Keith liked that. And I appreciate that from Keith. I definitely appreciate that from Keith. And absolutely. Now, in fact, later, and hopefully I can find it quickly here. I don't know. And let me pull this down just in case, later, Keith, to his credit, great credit, and appreciate you out there, Keith Boy, and thank you for being part of our movement. And you're doing great things. You did a heck of a job on the All In podcast, and very, very successful and everything like that. Now, to his great credit, someone said something, and Keith pushed back on him. Hopefully I can find this quickly. I don't know. Let's see here. I may not be able to find it really quickly here. I'm going to try. And Keith was basically like, yeah, no, you're wrong. Like basically it was something about, oh, MAGA doesn't like this and MAGA and Keith's like false. Oh yeah. MAGA doesn't like something about immigrants, and MAGA doesn't like that. And Keith's like false. MAGA loves Vivek, MAGA loves Kash Patel, MAGA loves Harmeet Dillon, stuff like that. And I like that, stuff like that. I don't know if I can find it super quickly. I'll try, but I don't think that's going to be. So look, I think that's great. I think that's been really good. I appreciate that. No doubt about it. And we're seeing more and more of those. And I'll just end with a couple things here on this topic here. I have some people I wanted to thank very quickly here. Anything you want to say, Paul, finally, before I do that and wrap it?
Yeah, the MAGA wants, in my opinion, they're for everybody. They're for the top people to help out American companies. They just want things to be explained to them, and you have to actually demonstrate to them that what you're saying is true. That's it.
Okay. So as we got you there, as we go, and by the way, if I don't do a show before New Year's, Happy New Year's, everyone. I hope you had a great 2024. We appreciate everything that people have done for us and all that type of stuff. And we have some big announcements coming up. We've got some good, ideas here. We're so excited about 2025. It is coming up. Okay. And I apologize if I can't pronounce the names right. I'll do my best here. And he's had some great quotes in this. And again, doesn't mean I, endorse or whatever, everything, but I appreciate the discussion. Bojan Tungas, he liked my reply. Definitely appreciate that. He's been saying some good stuff at Machine Learning, X NVIDIA, Kaggle, quadruple grandmaster, data scientist, really good. Okay. So appreciate that. We've also had, again, Keith Boy, definitely appreciate that. I like the reply here. Manny Romero, appreciate that. We had, let's see here. I'm just trying to go through some stuff very, very quickly here. Let's see. I had a couple more I want to thank. I know somewhere in here is Bill Ackman. Want to thank him. Happy Hanukkah, no doubt about it. Absolutely. Also we had, who else did we had here? Thomas Massey. Sorry for your loss and appreciate appreciate you out there and great stuff. Bill Ackman, definitely appreciate you, brother. No doubt about it. He's got some great quotes out there. And I also loved his support of the Baltimore pizza, Dave Portnoy helping the Baltimore pizza owner out there. And that's really great out there. So, we've got a lot of people out there doing some stuff. We also talked about Alexandra Botez, Botez sisters. Yes. We love that. And Catherine Boyle, a general partner at Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, has been done some great posts of our family. Also, she's got the thing out there for the America Tech Institute, I think, something the Texas one. So she's doing some stuff, and there's many more. I hope I haven't missed anyone here. I've been trying to cover it, but I think that's good. So yeah, so we really, really appreciate stuff out there. We try to add more light than heat, but we also like to be entertaining and stuff. Paul made a small request of no sound effects for this show, so I restrain myself. Can't promise that in future shows, but look, I think this has been an hour, almost an hour and a half here. We try to do the best we can here. Thanks to Paul with his commentary. Thanks to you out there. Hopefully this has helped a little bit, and the discussion continues. And, I trust Trump, Stephen Miller, the Congress. We're going to figure it out. We'll walk there together and keep, but we love everyone. America is a land of immigrants. My grandparents were immigrants, and obviously all of our families were immigrants at one point or another. Yeah, someone that goes somewhere in a different country. They come from another country, like Mama. That's it. My wife. My wife is an immigrant from Israel. But we had to go through the whole process and stuff. It took time. There were some hoops. There were some different things. We're all, at the end of the day, we're all immigrants. You know what I mean? Somewhere, at some point, our answer, either we were, our ancestors were, everything like that. Very quickly, please be careful here.
So if you could see a lot, probably half of the world are immigrants.
Be careful.
But some of them are literally not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I love you, honey. Okay, she's a 7-year-old. Okay, so listen. America is a land of immigrants. We're all for it, and we're all for the best top talent. It's a great conversation to have. We'll continue to have it. We also have to take care of, the middle class. Wages have been stagnant. There's a lot of discussions here. There's a lot of work to do. It's just starting. And I think I would say for my Silicon Valley brethren out there, the tech VC community, we have to, there's a learning curve here in politics and policy and stuff like that. And we all know what we know, the life in Menlo Park and Sand Hill Road and Page Mill Road, or even Austin, Texas, is different than life in Appalachia, Hialeah, the cornfields of Nebraska or something like that. And we want a system that is the best, most elite, most competitive and all that, but also the policymakers have to deliver for the American people that vote them in there as well. And I am very confident that if we get everything right, all you need to do, this isn't that simple, but I mean, where you want to lean, again, law and economics training, is get the markets right. Get the markets right. Maximize the opportunities here, which is just common sense. You want to maximize the talent and the resources and everything that you have here. Get the employment markets working right. Get all those things more efficient. Clean up the H1B visa system, as Vivek and others have talked about, whatever like that. At the same time, if there's true elite talent, of course we want that. And people on the MAGA movement have to understand, if we have the best of the best coming in here and we have the most productive and the best companies, that creates the best opportunities for everyone. Maybe not specifically at that company, but probably, there's going to be some opportunities there, but also in the downstream effects. So, I mean, okay, maybe, so for a perfect example, maybe Tim Pool didn't get a job. I'm not saying he applied. I'm just coming up with an example, or the quartering, or whomever, DeVory Darkins, or, even some of the people criticizing Elon. Maybe they couldn't get, or they didn't get, or they wouldn't apply, or I'm not saying names specifically. I'm talking generally now. Maybe some of these people generally didn't apply or couldn't apply or wouldn't apply or whatever to like a Google or YouTube. But guess what? They're making tons of money, some of them themselves, because of those platforms. So you got to look at the big picture. A rising tide, Ronald Reagan, rising tide lifts all boats. So let's continue to talk. Let's do it in good faith. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt. Let's continue the dialogue, and let's all learn together. That's what I got to say about that. And I hope we had a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Happy New Year, and can't wait for 2025. We may do another show. We may not. We'll see how far it goes. And I will have a big announcement, at least personally, soon. And I want to thank everyone there. So that's it. So for Paul, Janier, my name's John DiValero. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time, and we'll try to answer your comments if you give them. Thank you.